Hi, this is Real World Audio, and now it's going to be a very short one, and I'm going to demonstrate you guys why and how can you make live cabinets work. And there's a very special condition that needs to be met to make a live cabinet work, and that special condition is high efficiency. And let's just look into the matter. So what happens when you have a high efficiency cabinet? And I'm showing you two high efficiency cabinets. One of them is the Oscillias, and the other high efficiency cabinet is a violin. And both of these are good examples on making a cabinet that produces very clean and loud sound with extremely little energy. So the Oscillias need very little driving power to create loud sound, and the same thing with the violin. You can use just a bow and just make little light movements, and you get very loud sound out of it. I mean very loud compared to how much energy you have to input. And these two cabinets, they share the same mechanism, the way they produce the sound waves, the way these cabinets create the low frequencies. It's the same mechanism. And well, it's not just the low frequencies, but the entire frequency range that the cabinet reproduces works under low pressure, and that's the secret. And that this happens through the mechanism that they are not asked to resonate at a lower frequency than what they are able to reproduce. So basically, when either the violinist makes the strings resonate and then the strings resonance is transferred to the body, the lowest resonance is supported by the body of the violin. And same thing with the Oscillia, when the driver makes the lowest frequency movements, the pressure that's inside the cabinet, the resonance of the sound waves, the lowest frequency corresponds to the size of the cabinet, so it's not making the cabinet oscillate and resonate in an uncontrolled fashion, because that's the number one reason why a cabinet behaves in a nasty way, why a cabinet starts to sound in a really distorted fashion, why the cabinet is making that super nasty contribution is when it's asked to reproduce sound frequencies that it cannot support physically. In those cases, the energy has to go somewhere, and the energy will be dissipated through the dominant resonant modes of the loudspeaker cabinet. So when you have a cabinet that is large enough so that the side walls, the length of these walls, the front wall and the side wall, lengthwise, they can support the lowest frequency you are asked to reproduce, then it's able to resonate at that frequency. Now, if you were using it, let's see, as a subwoofer, let's have a look at a subwoofer. We are asking a subwoofer to resonate at a frequency that is vastly larger than the size of the subwoofer cabinet. And that's why we need to make the sub cabinet super rigid. Because if the sub cabinet would be a live cabinet, then the frequencies that we are asking to reproduce are like 3, 4, 5, 10 times longer than the side can support. And when we are asking it to resonate at those super low frequencies, it cannot. There's just pressure building up inside the cabinet. and it has to be released somehow. And the only way this cabinet walls can release that pressure is through its dominant modes defined by the size of the cabinet. So defined by the depth of the cabinet, the height and the width. And that's why subwoofers are made, these small subwoofers are made with really thick walls and lots of extra bracing on the inside to prevent these dominant resonant modes popping up. And that's why the cabinets, how they work, how they create bass is completely different with a high efficiency large cabinet compared to a compact cabinet. But it's not just the compactness, it's not the only only thing for subwoofers, but all low efficiency loudspeaker have this problem that they are not creating bass through wave mode, they are creating it through pressure mode. The cabinet itself is not supporting the wavelength. So that's it for now. I have one more thing to add, but I'm going to go into this in another video because I want to just keep this very short and concise. Is that now I'm showing the insides of a violin, because right now probably most of you have the question, okay, but how on earth are we controlling the cabinet's resonances? Because if you just put together a random box with flimsy walls, it's going to be resonating in a really nasty way, and that's absolutely true. If you just hack together a flimsy box, it's going to be nothing more than a flimsy box. So let's have a look at what the violin does to solve the situation. And the Oscillias do something very similar, but I'm not going to expand this video on it now. On my previous video, I told you guys already what the Oscillias are doing to fix it. So here, what the violin is doing, it has its live cabinet, the front, the top of the violin, and the bottom of the violin, and you see the side wall. This is the one that provides mechanical stability and rigidity. So that's what prevents the resonances from becoming totally random. And look here, what's happening is that there is the sound wave that's created inside the violin's body. It's this length. So it means that this is the quarter wave length that can be supported by the body. And that wave, that pressure wave is bouncing between these sides of the violin and back and forth between here. So these are the two dominant modes. And one thing that the violin does, it's not a square box, but you see that there's a narrowing, and then the bigger and the narrowing, and so there's a narrowing. So this narrowing adds an extra mechanical stability for the violin. And you see where it's narrowing there, you see that those things that look like ridges. So those protrusions make the sides thicker, and that gives mechanical stability. So this will result in the fact that that the side will provide a tremendous mechanical strength for the violin. So it means that the violin's body, the bottom will be allowed to resonate, the top panel is allowed to resonate, but those resonances are not shifting in dimensions. So basically, if the top panel resonates, the resonances stay there and they are not transmitted to the sides. So the side is acting as a barrier to the resonances. So the only way that resonance is coupled to the bottom panel, here's that piece that's called the soul of the violin. That's mechanically couples the top plate to the bottom, and that directly acts as the mechanical resonator of the bottom plate. So basically what you need to do for a music instrument, and not just a music instrument but for a cabinet as well, is to differentiate the cabinet to two distinct elements. Number one, structural element, and that's the side of the violin. So that provides structural rigidity and integrity to the instrument. So basically that's the load bearing structure. And number two, that's the resonator surfaces, the top and the bottom. And that's how you create a proper live cabinet. The same thing is true for the Orselias. They have an inner structure that is the mechanical support, and that has the resonator surfaces mounted on it. And if you are going to build a proper live cabinet, then build it like the Orselias, which are built the same way as a violin build, structure and resonator. And if you forget this, take this out of the equation, then you are getting the junk live cabinets which resonate really badly and sound totally uncontrolled and wacko. And unfortunately a lot of live cabinets are made that way because the people who are making them think like I don't know what do they think, but they don't think of their loudspeakers as music instruments. So if you want to make it work to reproduce the sound as a music instrument does, then build it like a music instrument. So thank you guys for watching, and we will continue. Bye bye.